Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. Obviously, the miners didn't do too well today. Bitcoin was only down slightly, but the miners were down double digits today. So we're going to take a look at what's going on there with it. I'm going to give you guys a little context as far as what could be possibly happening if it's repeating what happened last cycle. Okay, so we'll get into that. Then we also have Cleanspark providing their production update, Terawulf, and Digihost. We'll get into all that. But as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And as always, if you guys enjoy the type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And I thank you for doing that. So let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin really quick here. I want to point something out to you guys. So we go here. So this is the Bitcoin chart along with Mara, Riot, and Cleanspark being overlaid as a percentage on it. And we're going back to basically the beginning of July here. So the last 3 months, right? When we talk about the miners on the weekly performance versus Bitcoin, we cover that pretty much weekly here at the end of the week, usually on the weekends. We've seen that over the last 12 weeks, basically the last 3 months. Bitcoin miners have been coming way down, Bitcoin not as much. And here is a chart that kind of shows what has been happening here for the most part here. So you can see here that we pretty much peaked with the miners here, at least these 3 miners here that I'm taking a look at here. This was basically in the middle of July. This was right around Thursday, the July 13th. At that point, things have been coming down here quite a bit here. And over the last 3 months, Bitcoin is actually down only 10%, while the miners here, Cleanspark is down 28%, Riot is down 34%, Marathon is down 52%, right? So we're kind of seeing the same, or at least I'm seeing the same kind of pattern that we saw the last cycle before the halving event, which was a little bit different than the one that we're in right now. And the reason for that is because last cycle, the miners were actually going down a year in advance of the halving event, whereas the miners now, it seems like they're going down maybe about 9 months before the halving event. And Bitcoin actually at the last cycle was going up, and we're going to take a look at the chart here that I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys can see this pretty good. But I posted this on the Discord channel for the Patreon members. So here's what we got going on here. So it's the same setup here. Now we're looking at Bitcoin basically and the miners here that we have, Hive, Riot, and Mara, before the halving event, which happened in, I believe this was 2020 in May. And this is a year before that. So we're going back to basically 2019 in May and looking into the year right before the halving event. So the miners were actually down from a year prior to that halving. That happened in 2020. Hive was down 46%, Riot was down 50%, Marathon was down 77%, and Bitcoin was actually up 14% in that time frame. Right, so we're seeing less of a decrease in Bitcoin price currently, like we saw last time. Actually, Bitcoin went up last time. And then we also saw another thing was the miners continuing to go down here until after the halving event. And it looks like we're setting up for the same kind of cycle that we had last time, but a shorter one, possibly. Instead of being a full year, we might be at 9 months now, depending where Bitcoin goes and everything else. But this is kind of the way things set up there. If we look at what happened after this halving cycle with the miners and Bitcoin, we can see here now we're looking at a year after it. So we're looking at basically the end of well, not the end of 2021. But right around May of 2021 from the start of 2020 in May here. So you can see that Bitcoin at that point had probably, well, it reached a high of 64,899, right? We reached that, I think it was around March timeframe, somewhere around there of 2021. And the miners actually did a heck of a lot better during that time frame. If you look at Mara was almost up at one point, pretty close to like 7,000% up from where it actually ended at the halving in just 1 year. Then we got Riot was up 942%. But at the end of the year, Mara ended up 2,479%. I'm hoping you guys can maybe see that, maybe not. This is as big as I can make it right now. But I'll explain it to you. Hive was up 763%, and Bitcoin was up to, what was it, 182% at the end of that year. So it obviously came down from the peak that we had at 64,000, started coming back down a little bit here, and then bounced back up, remember, towards the end of the year a little bit, to around 69,000, if I recall. Right, so we're having this kind of a setup here where the miners in the past, and it looks like now, are trending lower. And the reason for that might be actually because, well, obviously the halving event is going to cut revenue down in half. So investors are kind of skittish about it. They're getting out of it now while the miners are still a little high. For me, it's not a big deal because I've seen this pattern before. And to me, it's just a great buying opportunity. It's basically the miners going on sale before the halving event. If you're a long-term investor, I would say dollar cost average and even more. My original goal was to get to 10,000 with Cleanspark. and possibly invest in other miners here. But if things really go south on the miners where they're down to like maybe $2, $3 again, well, Cleanspark is at $3 right now as it is. But if it goes down even lower than that, like around to maybe $2 or something like that, I'll definitely possibly dollar cost average in even more. Because once we do go through the halving event and out the other side of it, things are definitely going to go, kind of AWOL here, a little crazy. So I just wanted to point this out to you guys, and then this is kind of what we're looking at here. This is the kind of the game plan, I guess. Dollar cost averaging continuing into the halving event, and then continuing to see what happens after the halving event a couple months later, a year later out. You might be getting some new highs for all of these guys here after that point, okay? Let me know if you guys have any questions on this or any comments, or if you're thinking something else is happening. Obviously, we had the jobs report data come out, I think, today also, which was better than expected. I think that kind of scared off the market a little bit. That could be the reason, but I think more or less this is the reason why. It's that the halving event's coming up. People are afraid of that. Revenues are going to cut in half. So miners are being down really, really bad right now. And it could be continuing on until we get into the halving event. Okay, so that's just it for that one. And let's take a look at Terawulf here. So Terawulf provided their operational update for September, and it's actually a pretty good update. Here's what we do have on them. So in September, they self-mined 329 Bitcoin in September with an average production rate of 11 Bitcoins per day, and generated approximately 6.5 million of free cash flow in Q3 of 2023, which will be used to repay debt, thereby reducing the company's future interest payments and total cost to mine Bitcoin. So that's good. They do have some debt. We'll take a look at it here when we look at my spreadsheet here. And the power cost averaged about 9.9 thousand per Bitcoin produced, which is really good, or approximately 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour in September, which is really good also. Okay, and then here's the data that you can see here. They're at 5 exahash right now. Let's take a look at the numbers that I do have for them. We'll get through all this as well. So the data that I do have on Terawulf is actually a day old. I haven't updated the stock prices yet. So that is going to get updated here before I update this for the Patreon members. But that's going to get updated. So price is off a little bit right now. I think it's probably down 10 cents or something like that from where it was. I think it was Terawulf was on around 10% or something like that. So that's what we're working with here. Shares outstanding right now is 221 million. Stock price around $1.19. I think it's less than that right now because of today. Market cap is going to be obviously lower a little bit, but not much. 263 million as it is. And then you can see their performance here over the last 12 weeks. They're down 64% from 12 weeks ago, 50% from 8 weeks ago, 30% from 4 weeks ago. And last week they were down 8.7%, right? So this kind of feeds into my thesis here that we're possibly going into the same cycle that we had the last halving cycle. Bitcoin production here. Current hash rate 5 exahash. They have miners purchased to get to a 7.9, roughly 8 exahash. Here currently, they do have options to buy more, I believe, but we'll see. They don't hodl anything right now. And the BTC production has been going up, but it has been coming down here a little bit here in the last 3 or 4 months. You can see that they peaked at June 347 Bitcoin, and since then, the network hash rate has continued to increase. However, their production or their increase in hash rate has not been able to sustain that. So July, they were at 330. August, they were at 330. And September, they were at 329. A little bit of a decrease, but not much. But we also have to take into account that September had one less day. So possibly they could have actually mined more here in September if we had that one extra day for, which I'm pretty sure they would have. Okay, so it's still pretty good there. And you can see the month-over-month difference here as far as what they were mining from month to month. The difference in that, BTC hodl, nothing there. BTC per exahash efficiency, 65.8 is pretty good here for the month. BTC sold, and they've been selling pretty much everything that they do mine. Hash rate, you can see the last couple months they were stuck at 4.9 exahash. That's why the decrease in the production, obviously, even though they were able to sustain pretty close to where they were. BTC mining revenue also peaked in July with 9.93 million in revenue. They're down here in September to 8.65 million. Obviously, Bitcoin price has been coming down as well, so that's contributing to it. And then you can see the month-over-month hash rate difference, how much they've been increasing each month over the prior month. And then BTC sold value, that's how much they sold, pretty much whatever they mined. It's just the inverse of that. Now, last 4 quarters revenue has been increasing nicely since last year. And it looks like this current quarter that we just finished ending in September is going to be an increase over the prior quarter. So that's good news there. It's nice to see that. Last 4 quarters operating costs, you can see that there. Cost to mine 1 Bitcoin was really low here at 9.21 thousand, which is really good. How many Bitcoins have been mining for a quarter? That's been increasing as well, which is good to see. Now this is where it gets a little more challenging here. Debt to equity, it's lower is better. We want that to be under, well, less than 0 here, but it's not. In the current ratio, we'd like to see that above 1. It's not. It's at 0.1758 for the ending Q2. And then here you can see the reasons why. The total current assets as of Q2, they had 14.36 million. So it's about 3 months old now. They have been paying down some of the debt here. They had a debt of 81 million here in Q2. So that's definitely a lot, right? That's one of the concerns that we have with Terawulf, is just the debt that they have, and I'm trying to get out of it and pay it off. Okay. Now, as far as institutions and analyst ratings here, institutions did increase to 110. Shares also increased a little bit to 31.89 million from the 31.6 million that they had. Percentage increased to 14.42. And then we now have 1 strong buy rating for them, 3 buy ratings, so that's an increase there. 0 hold, 0 underperform, 0 sell. Price targets stayed pretty close to where they were. High is $4.25, $3.81 for the average, and $3 for the low. So those have decreased a little bit here over the last month on them. Looking at the miners that they did install this month, it looks like they installed possibly these 100 terahash miners, about 1,000 of those to increase by about 100 petahash to get into the 5 exahash that they are currently at. And we also had them mining here for the most part, based on just my calculations here, at 29.4 days out of the month. And then the ones that were added, about 16.3 to get to the 8.65 million in revenue, which is based on the Bitcoin average price in September, which adds up here. If we multiply 329 times the average Bitcoin price, we get the revenue of 8.65 million, roughly, pretty close to that. Okay. And historically, I've been pretty close to what they actually report as being generated. I was only off by 0.44% here in the this was Q2. Q1, I was only off by 0.55, so we're pretty close to that typically here anyways. Okay, so that's kind of where we're looking at those data, and then based on all of that, my stock estimates for the price should be around, well, with the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in, we're looking at a combined total of revenue of 72.2 million. If we take 50% net income from that, we're looking at 36 million, P of 20. And then now we're looking at $3.27 for the stock to $4.90. And they're currently at around $1 something, less than this right now. And then when we look at future possible revenue, we're looking at the September numbers for them as far as what they mined, multiplying it times the 6 months before the halving event at full 100%, and then 50% of that for the remaining 6 months after that, after the halving event. Okay, so with that, we're looking at $3.52 to $5.28, which is a little bit higher than what we had here because the revenues did increase here, which is good to see. Well, it didn't really increase, but the revenue that they are generating here is more than they were the beginning of the year, right? If we look at their revenue, let's see, where is their revenue? There it is. So if we go back a full year, right? Last year, they were only at 2.3 million, 2.3, 3.18, and they started going back up here in the beginning of this year, okay? So that's kind of what we're looking at. It's pretty close to what the analysts are looking at, $4.25. I got them at 4.90 here. Looking at previous data, future rate data, we got them a little bit higher here at $5.28 at the high point. $3.52 at the low point. Okay, so I still think that they're definitely way undervalued here. But the concern with them is obviously the debt. So if they could somehow pay off the debt and start hodling a little bit more, I think this would definitely help the stock price go forward. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of Terawulf. And let's get on to the next one, which is going to be here on Cleanspark, and we'll get Digihost last. So Cleanspark releases September 2023 Bitcoin mining update. It's a pretty good update here. And let's take a look. Here it is. Unaudited, obviously, Bitcoin mined in September was 643. That is a little bit of a decrease from where they were in August, but shorter month, that's why. Had the month had 1 more extra day, they would have been able to beat the production in August here. Total BTC holdings as of September 30th was 2,240. Nice increase in that. I think this puts them in the 4th spot right now. We'll have to see where the other miners come in with their hodling positions. You still have possibly Mara. Well, Mara's going to be the top 1 with the hodl position, followed by Hot 8. Then we'll have Riot, and then we'll have obviously Cleanspark here possibly being in the 4th spot. Total Bitcoin sold in September, only 80. So that's good there. Month-end fleet efficiency was 28.4, which is good. They're under 30 joules per terahash, which is nice. And the current hash rate is at 9.6. Okay, so they have continued to increase miners as they can here. We do have an operational update for them for Centersville. The steel structure and roof for Building 1 are complete, and the indoor switchgear has been placed. The structures for Building 2 and 3 are in progress, and indoor switchgear has been placed for Building 2. The remaining 7 buildings are in various stages of construction, from underground conduit installations to slab concrete for the structures and for transformers. No serious delays have been reported, and site construction remains on track for year-end completion. So that's good. We only have really now October, November, and December, so that's 3 months that we have to go with that. We also know that they did report last month that the power electricity company is not going to install the power lines to increase the hash rate there until possibly sometime after the first of the year. We don't know exactly when, but I'm guessing they'll probably get that installed before the halving event happens, to the point where they can then get to the 16 exahash that they want to be before that happens. It would be nice if they can get that done sooner, but we'll see on the time frame on that one. Okay, and that's it for that one. Let's take a look at my spreadsheet on that one, and let's see here. Got a bunch of stuff here. There they are. Cleanspark. Okay, so Cleanspark, 152 million shares outstanding. Stock price right now is a little bit lower than that. I think it's around 346. So it's definitely down today. Oh, I did buy another 150 shares of it today. So I'm dollar cost averaging in some more, like I said, and I'll continue to do that, possibly with buying 100, 150 shares, 200 shares here and there as price goes down, which I'm thinking it might, because, well, if history repeats itself from last cycle, I'm thinking it might come down even more. In that case, I'll continue to buy. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Market cap is around 589 million, obviously less than that because the price went down today, about 10%. And then you can see the performance here over the last 12 weeks. They're down 44 from 12 weeks ago. From 8 weeks ago, they're down 41%. From 4 weeks, they're down 13%. And from last week, they're down about 3% or so. The current hash rate is at 9.6. Future hash rate, I have them at 17.5, but they did state that they are going to be removing some of the older miners that they have for the more efficient miners, and they're planning to get to 16 exahash if that happens. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Bitcoin HODL obviously is at 2,240 right now. That's valued at 62 million. That's been nice to see that growing here. And their BTC production here you can see was 643 for the month of September, which was just slightly lower than what it was in August of 659. If they were able to mine the average, another, 21 Bitcoin a day or something like that, they would have obviously beaten August numbers, like I said. And then you can see their month-over-month difference BTC mined. As far as increases over a month or decreases as such. BTC HODL, you can see that they really got down to well, their low was 100 Bitcoin in February. And ever since then, they have been increasing their HODL position as we have been getting closer to the halving event. So we were at 1677 in August, 2,240 right now. Good increase there as well. Bitcoin, BTC per exahash efficiency, they're at 67, which is really good for the month. And Bitcoin sold, you can see that they've been selling very little here recently in the last couple of months, so they've been able to grow their HODL position really good. And I like the way that they're doing this because they know that come next year sometime, when Bitcoin starts going into a bull run, those are going to be worth a lot more. They can sell them at that point towards the highs like they did the previous cycle, use that money to build out and prepare for the next bear market, basically to buy miners again and then build out before the next halving cycle again. So I'm definitely liking what they're doing here. Okay, hash rate and revenue here. You can see that they were pretty flat here for a majority of the year, from January to basically June at right around 6.6 to 6.7 exahash. And a huge jump here in July to get them to 9 exahash. Then a little 300 petahash were added here in August, and another 300 petahash in September, which was good to see here. Monthly revenue has also been increasing here. June was a little low for them, but other than that, they've been going back up. And they're down a little bit. Obviously, Bitcoin price has been coming down as well, but still really good here. They're above their average here of 13.63 million. They're at 16.91 million based on my calculations for the month of September. So that's good there. Hash rate growth month over month. You can see what that has grown like. The Bitcoin sold value, how much they've been selling here recently. Last 4 quarters revenue, they're going to definitely beat their previous quarter, Q3. In the current quarter that we just finished in September with 52 million. There's a nice beat of 7 million there, so that's really good. And then last 4 quarters operating costs, you can take a look at that. And then we covered everything else here and the quarterly update for them. Okay, now as far as institutions are concerned, we got 201 institutions now, so that is an increase from last month, which is good. Shares also increased to 54.62 million from 54.35 million. And the percentage went up to 35.84 from 35.67, so that's also good. We still have 1 strong buy rating for them, 3 buy ratings, 0 hold, 0 underperform, and 0 sells. And then the price target stayed the same, $14 for the high, $11.25 for the average, and $10 for the low, okay? Looking down here as far as which miners got installed here, I put them down as possibly these 140 terahash miners, those XPs. Added about 750 of those to get them to the 9.6 exahash. Now, they did say that they're going to get rid of some of the older miners here, which I'm guessing are going to be like the 98 and 96 terahash miners that we do have here. Some of these 88 and then 86 over here. So I will probably swap those out by the end of the year here for some of the more efficient miners that they said they're getting as well here, okay? But they were mining for the most part here 30 days on everything else. And then the new stuff that came in, the 122 terahash miners and the 140 at 20 days and 17.4 in order to get my number here of 16.914 million. Like I said, based on the Bitcoin average price for September and the amount they mined, which gets us to that number here, okay? So that's kind of what we're looking at. And then my price targets for them here are looking at the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we just finished. We're looking at $11.02 to $16.53, which is obviously pretty close to what the analysts have them at. So I'm wondering if the analysts are copying me. If they are, that's fine. But if we go to the future part of things, things obviously look a little bit different. And the reason that is because we had a decrease here in revenue from 18.35 million to 16.91. And the reason for that is obviously Bitcoin price coming down and the network hash rate continuing to grow. So based on that, we have in between $9.97 to $14.96, which is still in line with what the analysts here are saying as it is. So I still think, well, I still think that they're doing a really great job growing into this halving event. And prior to the halving event, they've been doing a fantastic job. They've grown tremendously here in the last 2-3 years, which is nice to see. I mean, you can see here last year they were at 4.16 exahash. This year they're at 9.6, basically doubled it without a problem. They're going to probably get close to, well, they're not going to double that, but they're going to increase that by probably like 75% or so on that. Okay, so that's it for Cleanspark. Let me know what you guys think of them. If you guys have any questions, hit me down in the comments down below. And let's take a look at Digihost here really quick. This one's going to be an easy one. This one's a little bit more challenging here because I think they provide Bitcoin produced along with Bitcoin that they host. So it screws up my numbers here a little bit, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. But nonetheless, I'll show you where everything stacks up here. So Digihost increases month over month BTC output by 21% and provides September 2023 production update. So they mined approximately 85 Bitcoin, right? They're saying approximately because it's, I don't even know if they know how much they mined, but they're saying approximately 85, which was a 21% increase. The company held cash, Bitcoin, and cash deposits of approximately 2.4 million as of September 30th, 2023. I would like to see them provide the actual HODL number that they have of Bitcoins instead of cash and Bitcoin combined, because that makes it really tough. And then let me see here. What else do we have here? I think that's it. Yep, that's pretty much it. Their website shows that they are at 1 exahash. So this is kind of where I got them at right now. And if we look at the numbers here for them, let's do that. And I'll explain everything that as best I can. Okay, so Digihost is here. Here's what I'm looking at as far as, well, we'll get to it here down below. We'll just go through this really quick. So 28 million shares outstanding. Stock price is less than $1 here, right, or right around $1 today because of it came down also. If we look at the last 12 weeks, they're down 52% from 12 weeks ago, 33% from 8 weeks ago, 6% from 4 weeks ago, and they're actually up last week, 19%. So they kind of bounced a little bit here in the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of different from the other miners, but they've been kind of beaten down here. But, okay. Current hash rate, I'm at 1.095 exahash. They're pretty much fully installed right now as it is with the miners that they do have. They haven't reported on buying anything or growing beyond that, but I know that they have enough infrastructure in place to possibly get them to 2 exahash, but we just have to wait to see what they actually buy. As far as HODL is concerned, I have them at 19, which is the last reported number. I don't know what it is right now, but that's kind of what I'm using there. Monthly difference, you can see what their Bitcoin production has been like month over month, or increase or decrease in that. BTC HODL, you can see that they definitely went way down here. From January, they were 111 Bitcoin HODLed down to February of 13. Bitcoin per exahash efficiency, they're really high up here, which leads me to believe that they are also including the Bitcoin produced from hosting, I believe, in here as well, because none other miners are this efficient. And we'll also look at the numbers down below as far as miners being installed and how many days they're running. And I wasn't able to actually reach what they actually generated here in revenue. Bitcoin sold here each month. Hash rate, you can see that they've been very, very slowly growing to the 913 petahash. They're kind of flattened that for a couple months. Then they finally jumped back up here in September, looks like. And then you can see their Bitcoin mine. It's kind of been up and down here, all over the place, or the revenue here. Hash rate difference month over month. Bitcoin sold value, how much they've been selling here. And last 4 quarters revenue, it looks like they might be down on revenue. over the current quarter over Q2. And then when we look at here, the institution side of things, institutions stayed the same, and we don't have any price targets from analysts on that one. Okay, I want to go down here to show you guys what I mean as far as being off on the numbers on Bitcoin, well, the revenue here. So with them being fully installed at 1 exahash, basically, it's almost 1.1 exahash here with all the miners that they reported as being purchased. And where they're getting to, I have them right now at all the miners being at 30 days, and I still had to add 285,000 in order for the Bitcoin mined or Bitcoin revenue generated here was the 85 that they reported. That got us to the 2.2 million in revenue here based on the average Bitcoin price for September. And I couldn't make my numbers work here. That's why I'm saying I believe that they are including numbers for hosting as well. So my numbers are going to be off here. And the reason I know that is because each quarter that they report, I'm always off by like 8.7, 6.85% here. I'm always on the high side. So I know that they're adding other numbers for the BTC mined, not just their own self-mining there. That's kind of screws up my numbers here a little bit. So if anything, we might be a little high here by about maybe 8, 10%. I mean, we were pretty bad here in December of last year at 38% we were off, which was quite surprising that I was off by that much. But it could have been also them reporting weird numbers. Okay. But overall, I mean, here we were off 12%, 6.5, 8.7. As you saw with other miners, I was a lot closer to that, to the actual numbers. So there's something definitely not being reported here, being reported differently for them. So based on that information, if we look at what they mined here in the last 3 quarters, current quarter that we're in, we're looking at $1.78 for them to $2.67. MFP 5, mainly because they're just not growing that much. And I know investors are looking for growth, so more growth equals higher PE. Less growth equals lower PE. So that's kind of where I have them at right now. If we look forward to the next 12 months, 6 months before the halving event, 5 months after with 50% revenue on that side of things, we're looking at $1.76 still to $2.64. Not much of a difference from where we were up here. Okay, so that's kind of where I see them. But because of their lack of really good growth, I mean, they're going to probably double their hash rate here. Possibly, we don't know when, but they're going to do that. That's going to be pretty good for them, but it's still not keeping up with some of the other guys that have been just around the last year, 3 years, where Digihost has been around longer than that, okay? So let me know what you guys think of Digihost, and I think we'll pretty much call this a day. Actually, we'll take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin, and I'll show you guys what I mean as far as the separation in Bitcoin and the miners a little bit here. So I believe you have to go back this way. Okay, so let's reset this. Let's get rid of Marathon, Riot, Cleanspark, and then we're back to normal here on the chart. Let's get the RSI back up as well. Okay. So let's take a look at 1 year. There we go. So here's what we're looking at right now on it. Bitcoin is, and let's put in the daily lines and the weekly lines as well. We can see over here that Bitcoin obviously reached the resistance line here, 28,633. It definitely got resisted at that point, and it has fallen back down. But Bitcoin was only down today, or we're actually on the new day here. This is going to be Tuesday. We were only down at the end of the day, not much. We were down 0.27%, right? And then if we look at the miners here, where's my miners list? Watch list details. There we go. If we look at the miners, I mean, the miners were down 6%, 6, almost 9%, almost 10, 11%, almost 8, almost 9%, 10%. And then 8%, 6%, 10%, 7%, 8%, 9%, 14% for Marathon. Almost 10% for Mawson. Riot was down 11% as well. Soluna was down 6%. Stronghold was down almost 9.5%. Wolf was down 10%, right? So you're seeing this kind of separation where even though Bitcoin goes down a little bit, the miners are definitely crashing a heck of a lot more. And we're seeing the same separation that we just looked at a while back, where over the last 3 months, Bitcoin is only down 10%, where the miners are down 50%, 40% down. So definitely a much bigger downside on it as we get closer to the halving event. Okay, let me know if you guys think that we might be coming down even more based on what I provided you guys with the earlier portion of this video, or if you don't agree with it, right? Could be going either way. But nonetheless, we're going to finish up here. As always, you guys know that the spreadsheet is going to be available to my Patreon members. They're going to get that probably sometime tonight, and I'll get you guys, the YouTube members as well, the printouts of the spreadsheets, or not printouts, but the screenshots of the dashboards for each of the miners on that one. And the Patreon membership is only $5 now, so still probably less than a premium coffee, okay? And you get a lot of data from me. All right, I think that's it, because otherwise I'm going to ramble on. Send me down in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you guys there, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, until then, have a great night. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.